to At the Buzzer, our market recap. Coach Paul, you there?
I'm here. I was disappeared for a while.
Okay. You disappeared for a second, but you are good to go. Welcome, everyone, to At the Buzzer, our market recap. If this is your first time here, the goal of this segment is to review what happened in the markets for the day. We may talk about some markets that we have not traded before, but we believe our goal as traders is to identify opportunity. We want to see how we could take advantage of those opportunities while managing our risk. If this is our first time meeting, I'm Coach Jay. Been a Topstep performance coach since June of 2023, and that is Coach Paul. Coach Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Coach Paul. I've been with Topstep since April of 2023. I've been involved in the futures trading industry for 4 decades, and I'm here to share some of my experience and hopefully help you become a better trader.
Awesome stuff. Thank you for that, Coach Paul. We've had a different version of Top Step TV this week, but we are going to go ahead and review the markets, especially today. Today was a wild day in a bunch of the markets, maybe not so much yesterday, but we'll definitely go ahead and review. Maybe make it a shorter version of At the Buzzer today. But let's take a look at the Trader Hub just to start. We did have some numbers come out this morning. We did have U.S. Challenger layoffs come in at 48.3K. Initial jobless claims came in at 213,000. Forecast was 215,000. But outside of that, Coach Paul, we've been saying this pretty much from the beginning of 2025. It seems like the unplanned headlines are really what's moving these markets around. Of course, we got the war going on in the Middle East right now. There's been a bunch of headlines that came out of that this morning. Anything you got on the news specifically?
Um, every half an hour, there's some kind of news event. I specifically have turned off the news. I don't watch it so I can focus on price action. Um, some people say not a good idea. But in this environment, these news headlines, it's called the fog of war.
Right.
There's there's headlines, there's counter headlines. And I'm trying to make as a trader decisions based on the market, and I um I can get easily lost if I watch every one of those headlines, and it creates a lot of emotion. So outside of the major numbers,
Hmm.
just during the day, I just focus on watching my chart,
Yeah,
executing my plan,
absolutely.
because those headlines today, it's, which way is it going next? I mean, it was
Right.
and it was shown in the market action, and we'll go through that in a minute. But outside of that, I don't see anything big. What's the big headline for tomorrow? Is it
Uh, we got non-farm payrolls tomorrow. So non-farm
yeah.
payrolls tomorrow. It is jobs week, but again, it kind of seems like the jobs data is taking a backseat to everything else that's going on. The uncertainties in the market and the uncertainties in the world really seem a little bit more important right now, or taking center stage to the jobs data. Let's take a look at the quote board. We have 36 different markets we can trade with top step accounts today. To the downside, we have micro Bitcoin down 2.6%, micro Ethereum down 2.75%, and the Nikkei down 3.41%. To the upside, of course, it's the energies. RBOB gasoline futures up 4.1%, heating oil up 5.92%, and crude oil, our biggest percentage mover to the upside, up 5.97% after a $3 sell off from the high of the day in crude oil. Really huge move there. Of course, again, with the headlines that are coming out and the escalations in the Middle East, there are going to be a lot more headlines coming out there, and ton of volatility there in crude oil. Shout out to you, Coach Paul, who made the call that 2026 was going to be the year of crude. We are seeing really strong rally from the lows of the year. Let's get a little vibe check in the chat. How is everyone doing? Were you up on the day, down in the day? Anything that you learned from the day? And we'll get into these charts. Let's look at our big four. Again, we had crude up 5.96%, the S&P down 0.69%, gold down 0.96%, and the Nasdaq down 0.4% on the day. Why don't we just start with crude? Why don't we just
Oh no, wait.
start with crude? Biggest percentage mover of the day. We're gonna go out to a daily chart here. What are you seeing on the daily to start, Coach Wall?
Oh well. it- picking up momentum to the upside, obviously, holding that gap from Sunday night. This is the highest price, I think, how many years? So very solid action. Um, I would put it to looking at that chart. I would have to say, you sell it because I'm not. But this is this may seem high, but this is. I mean, look at the velocity of this move. It just doesn't turn around. It kind of reminds me of gold a couple years ago.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Really strong push here. We talked about, we've been talking about the lows of the year. January 7th, we've been above that, and now this week we've gapped up above that $70 level and holding really strong since. $80 used to be the price. We would say the price that should not be spoken of all 2023, 2024. Anytime we got up to $80 in crude oil, there was a strong rejection up there. We will see what happens up here today. There was a 230 lot on the offer. That means a passive seller right at $80 even. A little hesitation there initially, but again, we can see what happened. The market traded above it, closing below $80 right now. But these are prices that we have not seen in multiple years here in crude. Uh,
uh, by
uh,
the way, you mentioned the name.
$80.
Yeah.
It's a price that should not be mentioned, but I mean, it's been 3 years almost since we've traded it, so it's hard. It's hard not to talk about it. Um, let's see in the chat. Anybody trade crude oil today? We got Charles Williams up 164 bucks. Big day for Bink up 200 points. I'm assuming in the Nasdaq. Freedom Day Trader caught some nice longs off the low of day in the S&P. Up good today. Nice job. Uh, Delonte West up on all accounts. Up putting the finishing touches on my strategy for Golden Star Trading. Uh, was that Besant on the offer? It could have been, right? He's comments from Besant saying he was going to ask China to stop purchasing oil from uh, U.S. competitors, basically. Let's take a look at last night's open in oil here. Open up around $76. Here is that range here. And again, just a really strong rally on the 30-minute. We're above that 200 moving average. We have the 20 above the 50. Everything is saying strong market here. Difficult market to sell. That being said, I did take a short in crude oil today. I'll explain why I took that trade and why it was necessary to look at it as a scalp. If I was looking for more than what I was getting out of that trade, I probably would have gotten run over. But anything you want to mention here on the 30-minute, Coach Paul?
Well, look at London Open. It was a large break.
Here's London Open here.
Okay. Then with the next half hour, what do we get? Large selling. All right. That didn't, I think it maybe it ticked out in a new low compared to the Globex Open. But wick down there with what? Look at that volume.
Yeah, ton of volume there at that what is this? This is 4 a.m. Eastern time.
Yeah. And I think it did make a new low.
It did.
It did because I put it in my stop from overnight on new lows. So I was asleep for that. I woke up, I looked, and I want to give this I give this credit to you, coach. What happened with that candle and that volume?
Yeah, once we closed above that candle's high, that is a J trade on the 30-minute. We were looking for an example of one, but that is definitely one there. Took a little while to close above that high. It was about another 3 hours or so, so relatively uh, decent amount of time. But once we closed above that high, the market respects that volume. That high is somewhere near $77.15. And just a really strong push from that point. We are getting more headlines as we speak. Coach Hoop sharing these with us. Just reports of explosions near Baghdad International Airport. It's a ton going on, right? It does not seem like this war is slowing down. It seems like it's escalating a little bit. Like Hogue says all the time, we're going to pray for peace. But It seems like things are picking up still. I do want to talk a little bit about a short that I took during fast markets. At this point, I was already locked out of my live account, but on the first approach to $80 in crude oil, $80 even, we pushed up to 79.97 and stopped. And there was a 200 lot on the offer. And I took a short trade here, and I said it when I took it. It might sound crazy, but I see a decent short opportunity playing out here in crude oil. Now, if you're going to take a counter trend trade, I think it's extremely important, Coach Paul, to recognize that you're in a counter trend trade. Crude oil at this point was up $5 on the day. So it's a tough market to try to short. But if you have reasonable expectations for the outcome of your trade, I think there's can be opportunity on both sides, right? If I was looking for a $6 sell off in crude oil, you know, we got half of that. But on this initial approach to $80, big fat round number, again, the number that should not be spoken about. We haven't traded $80 in a very long time. We push up there and we see a decent amount of volume right at that high. You guys can see in this 3-minute candle that we saw that pick up of volume. Once we close below that low, I'm kind of looking at this like a potential J trade, right? So I'm getting short at the midpoint of this candle. Risk goes above $80, right? If the market wants to take out those offers up there, then great. Then I'll be wrong. But looking for really not more than a 1-to-1 on this trade because the higher time frame flow is to the upside, and it's not a flow that I want to fight for a very long time. So it was a quick scalp, and I think anytime you're taking your trades, it's good to identify whether or not they have the potential to be a trending trade or a scalp. Traders ask that question all the time. How do I hold on to good trades? Well, the first step to that is actually getting in the trend. If you're fighting the trend, you're not going to be able to hold on for too long. It'll run you over eventually.
It's interesting looking at the highest volume here is selling,
Yeah.
predominantly looking at the volume. And the market still went higher. So, what to me, it's it's profit taking, or longer term producer selling, hedging. So it didn't surprise me, that they had a break, um, a vicious break off the top, but still in the overall flow, like you did there, you have to play. You said it, play it tight.
Oh yeah.
And that was an actual common trade in a pit at big numbers like that,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
there was most likely a bigger order to sell there, and
Yeah.
so you would lean against that. But God forbid you become married to it.
Oh no, you can't. If it takes out the order, the trade is wrong, right? The thesis is wrong. If that seller steps out of the way or they get the fill there, and you can see it. And I see Dina in the chat says that was a brave crude trade. You know, on the initial test, that's a trade that I might take 8 times out of 10. But the full puzzle matters there. It's happening at a whole number level that we have not traded in years, right? So that honestly, that's not even a trade that's going to show up most times. You might get that trade once a quarter in something like crude oil, and I'm only taking it on the first attempt, Coach Paul.
Yeah, you did, and that's why I like it. And I mean, you can have a really tight stop there too.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't have to give it much time or room. It's so
The
nice trade.
Thanks. The second attempt, I'm not going to take it, right? Because it held up pretty well there, and it just gives the market the opportunity to run through that, uh, and then a really nice push afterwards. So, you know, is it worth it taking the brave trades? I don't know. I don't know if it's worth the stress over time. I'll be honest.
Well, um, in my long experience, I used to take those, and when I found out I'm not good, thought I was good because I got lucky in the first couple. But my problem was I wouldn't get out,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
It happened a few times.
Yeah,
So I like what you said. One of the nice trading off of charts versus trading on the floor in a pit is before you get in, you can just put your stop in. You don't have to hang around. You almost in that kind of trade, you're almost better off putting it on and watch something else. If you're looking for a 2 to 1, I mean, it's not a bit. It's either getting a walk or a base hit with no one on base, right?
right.
It's that kind of. So I don't know, but if you sat there and at least for me, if I sat there and watched it, I'd screw it all up.
Right. Right.
So,
But
well, I
there
was brave putting that stop in. Okay, it's the race, so it's a nice scalp.
Thanks, Coach. That is what we have in crude. Again, headlines going to continue to come out. Again, we saw Besant towards the end of the day, which I think kind of led to some of this sell-off, saying that he was going to ask China to not buy from U.S. competitors. We saw crude back under $80, but that is going to be a line in the sand. I would be watching $80 if I am trading crude oil. All right, let's get over to the equities. Taking a look here at the Nasdaq, we got NFP coming out tomorrow. Um, we're still in this range. We are still in this range. Look at the amount of overlap in the Nasdaq over the past couple of daily candles, and we are right at the 50% mark of the October 10th candle. We could overanalyze this.
Yeah, yeah.
Go ahead, Coach.
I look at that and it's moving a lot, but it's not going anywhere,
Right.
which it brings good opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. There's good appetite. The daily ATR is increasing in the Nasdaq. We're at 500 points right now. High to low range today. We had almost 500 points. So there's opportunity in this, but I see a lot of people saying, "Oh, this price action is super messy in the equity markets. It's hard to trade." Uh, I got caught in the middle today, and today was just one of those days. But I'm not really going to complain too much about the equities because, like you said, Coach Paul, before today, in the past week and a half, this has been great trading. Today was a little bit messier than other days, but especially on the open. But being in this range gives us real opportunity if you're patient. Now, that's a big if, right? If you're not patient, you're going to pay for it in the equity markets because more often than not, you're probably going to find yourself somewhere in the middle of the range. But looking at this 30-minute, what are you seeing here?
Well, you just it's hard. It is a hard trade
Yeah.
because there was violent moves inside of that. So starting from last night, excuse me, even that set the tone. We had buying early off the yesterday's extended upward move, but I think did VWAP leave that half an hour?
Last night,
Yeah,
very slightly, very slightly.
slightly.
Yeah.
So they were sloppy. But what happened on the candle that took out the lows? Session VWAP turned down. So it broke on small volume. Now, if I had bought that, okay, I take a small loss. And this gets the key on violent days today. And we talked about this a little yesterday. Judging yourself on being a red day and a green day, and only on those terms,
Yeah.
doesn't tell you how well you traded. If you bought that and took like a 5, 10 tick loss, it's, that's a good trade.
Right.
It's not a profitable trade, but what did you avoid?
Getting blown up.
Getting blown up. I mean, that's the uh, that is the mindset for a survivor. Now, wasn't trading it after that one thing. Looking at yesterday's action, I want to wait. I didn't trade it at all last night, but there was a nice 2 to 1 trade on the sell side. But if you weren't quick, Look what happens again in Europe. Pop. And this was like the precursor for the day.
Yeah,
So,
almost
look
the
at that.
inverse of that gold chart. Oh, sorry, crude oil chart.
It, it is. Same time. Now that wicked couldn't take out the high, but look what it did to session VWAP. And this is something I watch all the time now. It didn't change it.
Right.
Now we finished low. I mean, this was there you go. It was a tough day. Once again, we went back up to that range,
Yeah.
rejected it.
So during fast markets, this was like, you know, if I had to review my trades and there was a question about reviewing trades, how do you reflect when you're over trading in a tight range rather than two attempts at an idea and killing it? Uh, Snooze you lose. I would say if you could rewatch fast markets this morning, maybe the first hour of it. Um, I kind of did exactly that. Uh, there were some really clean reads that we made this morning, but not great executions, and I just locked myself out. Uh, you know, over trading, poor executions. I think it's all kind of in the same ballpark. So if you're realizing that what you're seeing and what you're doing are not lining up, I think the best thing that you can do is to take a step back from the markets for that day. Now that might mean I have to lock in a loss. That might mean I forego trading opportunities later in the day. Sometimes I don't lock myself out for the full day. Sometimes I'll just do a couple minutes or an hour or so. Um, but it's you really got to go back to the question of what am I trying to achieve here and what is the market trying to achieve and are those two things aligned? If they're not, then it might be better to take a step away because we're always going to default to what we want and not what the market wants. And when those things don't line up, that's when you start paying probably more than you're willing to risk. So there was a perfect 3 bar reversal up here at these highs. Really nice volume. We called out the trade, and this is where for me the frustration started today because this was a perfect opportunity to short off these highs, and I started to find longs. And what I realized was, and people are going to say, "Oh, why is this guy buying up here?" All this other stuff. Everyone is going to catch themselves in that position. At that point, for me, it's risk management, it's crisis management, Coach Paul. I'm wrong, and whatever I'm doing is wrong. I have to stop the bleeding, and that's what it was for me.
Well, and you said I love what you said, and go back to the term. It's you want to trade right. You don't need to be right.
Yeah.
So when you felt it, you've had enough experience. You're like, oh man, I'm fighting this.
Yep.
Now at that point, and this is where maturity comes in. I got to stop. I've been here too long. I've done this. In your brain and your gut, you feel it coming on. Like it, it's like going down the slippery rope. You're like, all right, I don't want to. What was I seeing? I was wrong. Now I'm down money. I can't be wrong. I can't lose money if I could just buy one more. And if it goes halfway back, and I'll scratch it.
Yep.
I'll challenge this. I think just about every trader has gone through that.
Or
Maybe
you haven't been
once
trading long enough.
or twice, or maybe multiples of that. But this is, I can see that what you did. You're like, I know this. I feel it. I need to stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
So great feature in Top Step X is not lock yourself up because now your subconscious is taken over, and you can't stop it. But the best way is to have that maturity to go. I don't. I've felt this pain before. I felt this panic. I'm
Hmm.
not going back there.
Yeah. And and it's not just about a losing trade, right? I've had days recently where the first trade that I took was a loser and it turned out to be a pretty good trading day because I would take the same trade and realize that it was a valid setup. And I think a lot of times what happens is traders will lose a trade and then they're like, oh no, I'm doing everything wrong. Sometimes you just have bad luck on a trade, right? The market's going to stop you out before it goes in your direction. This is why we say all the time, if you have a true valid trade setup, just because you get stopped out doesn't mean you should throw out the trade idea. I think in this case, what I saw, Coach Paul, and like you said, it comes with experience maybe and doing this over time. I had a daily loss limit of $2,300 and I was at negative 1,500. The if I continued to trade, the only the only outcome of the day would have been a negative $2,300 day. There was nothing else that was going to happen. It was just that type of day, right? And sometimes you just don't see it well, and I think it's okay to admit that and save yourself. I saved myself $800 where I could use that towards my risk budget for the next day or whatever it is. So, um, if your reads are right and you're trading them right and you just get stopped out, much different than a
Then the beating.
yeah, I'm looking at these markets with my eyes closed is what I felt like. And when you realize that, it's okay to stop out. So Ches has a question in the chat. Do you think it's a good idea to go break even as a risk management measure or let the trade play out? Ches, it depends. If you're going break even, you know, because you got a couple ticks in the money, you're never truly gonna really let a trade play out. For me, if you have good trade location, why not let your trades work? Where I start going to break even is once I secure some profits on the trade. Um, but going to break even too quickly is loss avoidance, Coach Paul, and we can't avoid losses.
We can't. It's part of the game. Someone tells you, or some entity tells you that you don't have to take losses, or I have the solution, you'll be rich tomorrow. It's the same thing you're saying. It's not true. Now, I personally, I let it play out
Yeah,
to ATR risk unless some type of structure rules it out. And we'll go through that now. Let's look at the 3-minute opening range because I did take losses
yeah,
in the Nasdaq and the S&P. We had a 3-minute opening range. We had a breakout. It didn't quite meet my 2 to 1, and I got stopped out.
yeah,
And okay, at one time it was up. I'm like, I got to, all right. It's just a matter of time, and I still get that feeling. Now, once I got stopped out there, and especially in the Nasdaq, that was it. I'm done with Nasdaq.
yeah.
Um, Now I took the original loss. I don't. In this case, I could have moved it up higher, but that wasn't the plan when I got into the trade because nothing structurally changed. One thing is the daily ATR. What was that daily ATR? Let's
500
blow
points.
that up. 500 points. So we look at that. We got above it, but once we closed below the daily ATR and the anchored ATR, that and I've been watching
You
this
mean VWAP,
lately.
Coach Paul?
Did I say VWAP ATR? You say tomato? No, really. Sorry about that. The session VWAP we got under.
Yeah,
That is not good. And also under the anchored VWAP. It's rejected. At that point, I learned something today. I'm- I can cut that trade off
right.
before the stop. Why? That's bad buying,
Yeah,
and I was one of them. I don't have to hang around with the group now. That's something I've been noticing in the last couple weeks. So we talked about aligning. Oh, I aligned with this. I aligned with the market. But then this is probably some headline,
yeah,
some news, some action. So in answering that question, I stayed with my original loss. It really wasn't that much of a difference, but it was. I mean, it's just saving money. But there's some market movement that gives me evidence that the buying has failed.
right.
Now that takes time to read that,
Yeah,
but a good question.
for sure. Uh, Most of the equities did very similar things here, so we don't have to go deep dive into all of them. Very similar days, a lot of back and forth. There was two-sided trade, two-sided opportunities. AKA 47 says the hardest thing has been closing out a loss. Uh, it's actually not that hard, AKA, and I can guarantee you've closed out losses before in your trading experience. The hard thing is closing out a measured loss. Everyone here is a great loser. You've done it already. I guarantee you. If you've blown an account, you've learned how to lose already. You got to learn how to lose better though. And that's the difference, right? It's actually not hard to take out to close out a loss at all, right? We just go the other way with it and we're just say, you know what, if I'm going to take a loss, and unfortunately, this is what a lot of people do. If I'm going to take a loss, it's going to be the account. It's not going to be this trade. It's going to be the entire account. Everyone here is knows how to take a loss. Uh, so you know, measuring it gives you another opportunity. Uh, More comments from the president here. Iran is calling, asking how to make a deal. Uh, we are going to continue to see headlines come out of here. We'll go one more market here. Take a look at gold here on the daily. What are you seeing here in gold, Coach Paul?
I don't know. I see failure. That yet Tuesday's action, we were not recovering,
Yeah,
and it, um, I find it very heavy. Now, once again, we're still in the middle of that range, the panic selling. But this latest round, we had what is that, a doji on the daily,
up at these
which
highs.
we
Yeah,
had, yeah, and we have not recovered. I'm actually kind of bearish this market. Um, selling lately, we are not. Look at how the small ranges against the, and it's heavy. Now, on top of that, you rarely hear me talk fundamentals, but when I do, um, this broke on a war in Iran
right.
and crude oil prices breaking 3-year ranges. That is fundamentally that's that's really bearish.
Yeah.
It's part of it to me says some entity is taking money and cashing it
Mm,
in front of possible more chaos.
okay.
So looking at that action, I'm getting bearish. It hasn't changed the 20 day. It's still over the 50-day. But look at that 20-day is starting to wiggle.
Yeah, a little bit. Closing below it today for the
Yeah.
first time in a little while. 5102 is that 20-day moving average price. Taking a look at gold on a 30-minute, a lot of chop indecision last night. Really, most of this move was, you know, during the New York session, but still some extreme volatility here. These are still wide ranges to trade. I know people have been asking, hey, when can we open up the limits on the amount of contracts we can trade in gold? Don't think it's necessary just yet. These are still very high prices. Of course, not all-time high prices, but you know, 3 months ago, if we were to been talking about, or 6 months ago, gold trading 50,000 or 5,000, that would be all-time highs. So, uh, extreme volatility still. You can still make some great money trading micros in this market. There's opportunity to lose as well. We have to be aware of the risks, but really nice trading going on here in gold, still in this range. Crude below
Yeah.
$70 now. Coach Hoop saying non-farm will be a big kicker for sure. We will see. We got that non-farm number coming out tomorrow before the open, 8:30 Eastern time, 7:30 Central. We will not be on Topstep TV. Again, we're running a Topstep TV unplugged version this week, a little lighter version of the show. So we'll get the market's response during fast markets tomorrow. I'll be on with Jack and Dakota. Coach Paul, any other markets you have your eye on? Anything else you want to mention here?
Just want to give a shout out to Erin in
Yes.
the chat. She took that sell in the Rusty. against the pivot. What was it, 26-23? I see. Yeah, nice trade. Um, the Russell once again didn't fuck around.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I
Yeah.
can't. I couldn't
Yeah.
help
It
myself.
didn't though.
We just saw this action, the S&P and Nasdaq with head fakes
Yeah.
and some sloppiness.
Yeah.
There was nothing sloppy here.
No.
This was intention.
Just clean movement.
Yeah. Um, so that pivot VWAP under the pivot, it opened up and just straight down to the second level of support. Um, Once again, the Russell doesn't have the retail uh, volume that other indices do. When it moves, like I said, it moves with intention. So great trade.
Oh man, the Russell was a great trade today. I'm remembering now. Fast
You
markets.
didn't sell.
Say it again.
Did you sell it?
I did. I did. I did. I did. Yeah. Like I said, I had to lock myself out because I'm seeing all the trades correctly. And we actually said it, right? So what we've been seeing in the equity markets over the past couple of days, yesterday I sold the Russell as well, but there was urgency in the Russell to the sell side yesterday. Today we didn't get it anywhere. And I think one of the things we've identified is if you don't get urgency anywhere in the equities in the first 3 minutes or so, first 10 minutes or so, you're going to get to a high probability there's going to be a decent trade later in the day. And when the Russell traded above the full session VWAP and then came back under it, that's where I should have been getting short. It was just a messy day. So, and again, the read was right. So there's a couple of things, right? We do this as review. This is journaling. When you go in to journal your own trades, I'm looking at the Russell and saying, yeah, you should have been short. I'm not saying that my process has to change. I don't need a different strategy. I don't need a new indicator. I just have to trade what I measured for, right? That's the only thing. So, you know, wherever you're at as a trader, right? If you're reviewing, if you had a good day, hopefully the good day is a result of you following your process, and then that validates your process for you to want to continue to do it. Today's trading action validates my process so much that I'm, looking forward to the next trading day that I get to execute the process because the process wasn't wrong. I was wrong, right? So when I'm looking at my journal, that's exactly what it says. Your trade setups are valid. Take them.
Yeah.
Eh,
And that's really when everybody talks about secrets in trade. If I only had the secret, well, the secret lies in yourself. You trade who you are, and I mean a day to day. Something, and sometimes just like a professional athlete, you're not aligned.
Yeah,
Well, what's not aligned? Your emotional and psychological state with the market state,
yeah.
and that happens more than we like. And I think, I mean, you have the greatest plan on earth and
Until you
blow
don't
up.
follow it.
So one thing I'm going to go back is you felt it from your experience. Said, I got to cut this now.
Yep. Yeah.
And for viewers who are struggling with that, it is so hard to do. It's it's easy to say, okay. That's why it's like an ejection seat. You
Yeah.
imagine fighter pilots. When am I hitting this ejection seat?
Right. Right.
Um, but as you get more experience, you'll know it. You'll feel it, and you got to get out.
Got to get the.
We lost your
You
audio.
should be able to hear me now. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I said you got to know when to get the f out of there. You already dropped one f bomb today, so I'm not going to use another one. But they said we like that talk, but we're saying that, and the reason Coach Paul is saying that the Rusty doesn't f around. I see some people in the chat even saying it. Len says the Russell paid today. Coach Hoop, the Russell didn't play. I've been taking Russell trades with less stress than the usual markets. That's from Man Cave. Dina, I've been digging the Russell for months now. There's a reason for that. You're not going to hear a bunch of people talk about it. You're not going to hear a bunch of, your favorite influencer or whatever it is. They're not going to be trading this market. Why? Because it's the Russell. Who trades the Russell? Why would anybody trade that? What the hell's in the Russell? I'm a NASDAQ trader. And they're not showing you the graveyard of accounts that have to be NASDAQ traders. You could lose money trading the Russell as well, but if we look at a chart over time, it's a cleaner trade, especially for right now. So, you could fight the good fight and trade the Nasdaq every single day, or you could find the cleaner market. I traded the Nasdaq today, took some losses there, but yeah, Russell doesn't play around. DJ Rocketman says, "Change your chart colors. I hate them." Oh my god, are they that bad? Are they that bad?
Are you not a Knicks fan?
Yeah,
Is
are you
that what
like
you're
an
saying?
Atlanta Hawks fan? What's going on?
By the way, the Knicks, why did they fire Thibodeau?
I don't know. I don't know why the Knicks do anything they do, to be honest.
The Bulls did that and went to a years long slump they
Yeah.
have never recovered
Shout out
from.
to Mike Brown.
But,
Mike Brown's a good coach.
yeah, this is. But there was no need to change. Well, change as a coach. I don't know. The results have not been good.
They haven't. They haven't. I do like the pace they play with under Mike Brown, but I don't know. Honestly, I don't think it's the coaching. I think it's the group of players that they have there. But we won't turn this into a basketball stream. I'll see if ESPN wants to invite me one day. Yeah. How about the Russell compared to the ES as far as the clean trade kind of thing? We can compare it. We can compare. Who's that? Ariana. We can compare it. The Russell and the S&P. Let's take a look. Just trying to make a comparison here, but they're not far off. It's just the S&P. I feel like a lot of time the S&P is looking over at the Nasdaq and being like, "Come on, do we have to be this crazy? Like, like life doesn't have to be like this."
The S&P is the middle child.
It is right. The S&P is the middle child, where it wants everybody to get along, but it's sometimes it has to follow the Nasdaq, and
And the Russell is its own as the youngest child. Well, actually, it's seriously, it's 2,000 stocks, 500 stocks, 100 stocks, and you can make the argument 7 stocks, maybe even 3.
right.
And because of that, you, it's more stayed. It has more stocks in its index. It's not as highly weighted to just a few. So it isn't as sexy.
Yeah,
It isn't the Ferrari.
right.
It's the solid Honda,
It's a Honda Civic, maybe an Accord.
maybe an Accord. Yeah, I'd say an Accord. That it doesn't have all the bells and whistles and it's, but
New Accords
it's
are
much
nice.
more. Yeah, heck, I missed my Honda that I put 200,000 miles on.
Oh yeah,
A hybrid that was literally 48 miles to the gallon. But going back, remember that index is 2,000 stocks. So think of it's going to be more stable. S&P is 500. It's more stable than the Nasdaq, and that's why um, they act like that.
the Nasdaq is the BMW throwing check engine lights and leaking oil. And yeah, there is a cousin, the Nikkei, that only shows up every other holiday, and
Drunk.
right, yeah, just ready to go. The Nikkei is pretty wild there. There's one more question I want to get to. JD in the chat says, let's say we don't get a limit order or a stop order, and we mark it in because we see our setup, but missed it. Do we still set up the 2-to-1 from where we would have gotten in or where you've gotten in? I think a good way to measure that, JD, is measuring it from where you should have gotten in. If you're late to a move, I think measure, and I mean, it really depends on how late you are, right? Uh, I think measure from where you maybe should have gotten in. That's my opinion, just on first thought. But I don't know that you should be that late that it matters too much. What would you say there, Coach Wall?
Don't take it. You missed it.
There you go.
There's another. Shout out to Eddie.
Yeah,
Uh, I mean, he had that. There's another bus coming.
yeah,
I mean, so just the fact you have to adjust. What are you doing? You're missing out. You missed out. Now there'll be another like. So uh, unless you have some evidence, and then when you do that, keep track of that. All right. But immediately don't chase because now you're going to have to most likely suffer more heat. Your setup came, now it's moving the way you thought it was going to move, and it's in a win, it's in a plus situation. Well, what about the times you missed it and it was in a minus situation?
right.
And if you missed it, you're like, thank God I missed it. So those two X out, I would strongly suggest let it go. There's another bus.
There you go. There you have it. I got nothing else. NFP tomorrow could give us some volatility. The uncertainty that we're seeing in the world could give us some volatility as well, especially for our energies traders out there. So make sure you know where your risk is. Make sure you know how much you're willing to pay to see whether or not the market agrees with your trading ideas. And if it doesn't agree, understand that you established that risk before you got into the trades and live to trade another day. Coach Paul, anything else you got before we get out of here?
Plan your trade, trade your plan. If you miss it, let it go.
There you go. Coach Hoop says, texted Eddie the other day. He's doing well and says hello to the chat. Shout out to Mr. Eddie Horn. We appreciate you. Hopefully everything is you're doing well, Eddie.
Yeah, Eddie, we'll miss you.
We miss you. I think that's it. We got coaches doing classes in Discord after this. Coach Hoop doing a class at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Then we have Coach Ray and Coach Vince, 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern. Coach Dakota tonight with slow markets at 8 p.m. Eastern as well. And then we'll be back with Aaron for the London Open, 2:30 Eastern time. And no metals markets with D tomorrow. Tomorrow is Friday already. But we'll be back with fast markets tomorrow again at the adjusted time of 9:30 Eastern time. Shorter show tomorrow, but we appreciate you all being here. Hit that thumbs up button if you haven't done so already. Tell your friends and family to like and subscribe, and we will see you all tomorrow.
Ciao.
Bye.